Hello friends, I welcome you all in this session. As you are aware, in previous session we were discussing about time and cost relationship, and we have seen that there is a relationship between direct cost and duration of the project. The moment we reduce duration of the project, the direct cost increases and indirect cost decreases, right? And we have also seen crashing of the networks. Crashing is quite an important topic, and in crashing we have seen basically two methods. One was normal method, in which we reduced the duration of one particular critical activity along critical path to reduce the duration of the project. And in free float method, which is quite an efficient method, we have seen how to reduce duration of the project. So, let us move on to next important knowledge area of project management, and that knowledge area is cost management. As I said, there are 10 areas. If you look at the importance of these areas, then almost all are important. Let us say project stakeholders management, another very important area, because you need to talk to several stakeholders of the project. Then you got risk analysis, right? Risk management, another very important area. Now let us move on to cost management, which is equally important. I won't say that this is the most important, but equally important. Again, not equally important, but you can say that it is amongst first 5 areas, right? So let us get started about cost management. Why this area is important? Because whenever you go for a project, you need to complete it within time. The project should perform its intended function, and it should be within budget. So when I talk about budget and cost, they are related, right? So that is why cost management is an important area. Even if you are completing project within time, it is performing its given function or expected function, but if it is not within cost, then it won't be a successful project. So that is why cost is important area, right? So let us get started. In cost management, you have got 3 important points: cost estimation, cost budgeting, and cost control. In fact, there is something called ITTO in project management. ITTO means input, tools and techniques, and output. So every area has got certain inputs, certain tools and techniques, and certain outputs, right? So if you look at cost management, it has got 3 basic processes: cost estimation, cost budgeting, and cost control. If you look at cost estimation, then you need to estimate cost of the project a priori before executing project. Quite an important and very risky area, how to estimate cost of the project, because many times you don't know what will happen in future, because future is uncertain. So you need to look at what might go wrong in project. So you need to allocate some cost for those events which might affect your project negatively, right? So cost estimation is an important area. In this particular slide, if you see, there are inputs for cost estimation, there are tools and techniques. So you have got tools and techniques for cost estimation, cost budgeting, and cost control. So we will be focusing more on tools and techniques, right? Not much on inputs and outputs. So let us get started about cost estimation, right? How to estimate cost. So for cost estimation, you have to have certain inputs, right? Then only you can estimate and there are certain tools and techniques. Just look at, you got analogous estimation, you got determine resource cost rate, bottom up estimation, parametric estimation, project management software, you got vendor bid analysis, reserve analysis, cost of quality. So, these are important tools and techniques which would be focusing on cost estimation. So, once you are done with all these tools and techniques, at the end of the day you will get estimate of the activity, cost estimation of the activity, which would be further input to cost budgeting. Just see, if you look at this activity cost estimate, right, this is one of the inputs in cost budgeting, and then you have got budgeting tools and techniques like cost aggregation, reserve analysis, parametric estimation, funding limit reconciliation, right. Then you have got cost budget. At the end of the day, it is called cost baseline. We will see how to find out cost baseline. Then cost baseline is input to cost control, and there are certain tools and techniques. Just see from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So, these are tools and techniques. So, we will look at tools and techniques of all these three, right, cost estimation, cost budgeting and cost control, right. As I said, cost management is an important area, because you need to know a priori what would be the costs of different resources which you are going to use in your project. Initially when you plan or initially when you estimate cost of an activity, you most of the times do not consider uncertainties which might occur in future. You most of the times do not, you take optimistic situation or more of a normal situation, but you should think of pessimistic situations also, right. So, cost management is primarily concerned with cost of the resources needed, right, and you have got several resources, right. There are n number of resources, but basically 5 you can say: main, machine, material, money and method, right. So, in a project you will have different stakeholders, and all these stakeholders measure cost differently. For example, let us say you are purchasing a raw material, right. So, while you are in search of let us say vendor selection, you will have certain cost of an item, right. After some time, when you are done with all those vending tendering process, then you place an order to one specific vendor. At that time cost would be different, isn't it? And when you receive material, it is possible that the cost would be different that time. In fact, especially if you are getting material from abroad, right. So, there are several factors play important role in costing of raw material or costing of an activity, right. Generally we express cost of the project in different currency, right, either in terms of dollars or rupee or yen or whatever is the currency, right, but it should be comparable and it should be same across the projects, right. In some cases the estimator can use units to measure estimate cost, such as staff hours. So, rather than saying that the cost of this project is 1000 crore or 2000 crore, you just say that the cost of this project is these many man hour, right. You just convert all the costs in terms of man hour or staff days, that this project will take 1000 staff days, isn't it. So, you can have this unit also. Whenever you estimate cost of a project, as I said, future is uncertain. So, you have to initially you make several assumptions. Sometimes assumptions are unrealistic and you plan according to those unrealistic assumptions. So, when you estimate cost, initially what you do, you just have a rough estimation of the cost. You do not just say that this is the estimation of the activity, you will have a rough order estimation. It is called rough order magnitude of cost, right. So, let us say if you are estimating cost of one activity, let us say 100 rupees per day, right. So, initially you will say it will vary from 50 to 150, right. So, you are keeping a range, right, and after some time you will try to reduce that range, you will say after some time 75 to 125, right. So, you should keep on reducing this range to arrive at a final estimation of the cost of the activity, right. And cost includes several resources, as I said, mainly you can say it is labor cost, material cost and overheads, right. And you should also look at inflation while calculating cost, right. Of course, inflation plays an important role, and there are some other things which also you should take care of, like contingency expenditures, right, some unplanned expenditures. So, you should have some budget for those unplanned expenditures, right. So, as I said, cost input, cost estimation has got several inputs, right. So, we will not go into details of those inputs, just look at this. There is something called enterprise environmental factor, you got organizational process assets. So, these are different points in point number 2. Then you got project scope management, we will look at this point carefully. So, initially, as I said, whenever you are going for a project with your client, you should have scope very much clearly defined. It should be very clearly known to both the parties what are the terms and conditions, because the moment your client asks for something more, you will be incurring more cost, right, more time. So, that scope is to be defined very clearly. Then you have got work breakdown structure, project management plan. Now, let us look at cost estimation tools and techniques, right. So, what are different tools and techniques, how to estimate cost of the project, or let us first talk about cost of the activity, right. So, there is something called analogous estimation, it is very simple. On the basis of experience, you can know how much cost this particular activity will take, right. So, this is very simple, analogous estimation. So, you are talking to experts, those who have been working in that area, right. So, talk to experts. The plus point of this method is it is less expensive, but does not give most of the times right answer, right. Then determine resource cost rate, because you are involved in a project, you know to some extent that what is the material cost, what is the labor cost, or what is the labor cost per hour, per day or per month, isn't it. So, from the resource cost rates you can estimate cost of the activity, right. There is something called bottom up estimation and parametric estimation. Just think about these two types of tools and techniques and try to answer what is bottom up estimation. Bottom up estimation. Okay, so let us look at what is bottom up estimation. In a project you have got hundreds of activities. So, first of all you should find out what would be the cost of each of those activities and just sum up all of them, or it is called rolled up all the costs. So, at the end of the day you will get one particular figure, right. So, this is bottom up approach. It is sometimes you may have top down approach also, right. So, the top management will decide that all the activities of the project will have these many costs, right. So, it depends on organization to organization, it depends on project to project, right, whether you should go for bottom up or top down approach, right. Then you have got parametric estimation. There are several statistical techniques available which will help you in finding out what would be the cost of an activity. So regression is widely used. So let us say if you want to know what is the cost of the project of, let us say you are coming up with a 5-storied building, right, in a 10,000 square feet plot. So since you know what was the cost of 5-storied building 10 years ago in a 10,000 square feet plot, you know what was the cost 5 years ago, what was the cost 2 years ago. So you have got data, right. So you have got cost data and you have got time data, right. So you have got a time series available. So you can use simple linear regression, right. It's not necessarily that you should use simple linear regression, you should see the pattern of past data, right. If it is linear, then go for linear, otherwise you should go for some non-linear regression techniques also, right. So there are something called parametric estimation. So there are some statistical techniques available for estimating cost of the activity, right. There are several softwares available these days which will tell you what would be the cost of the activity. So you have got MSP, you have got Primavera, and there are other simulation and statistical tools available which will help you in finding out what is the cost of what is the estimation of estimated cost of a software of a project, right. Then you have got vendor bid analysis. So when you are getting tenders from, let us say different suppliers, let us say if you need some material, let us say if you want aluminum sheets, right. So you just float a tender and say that I need 10,000 aluminum sheets of this much size and this much thickness, and let the vendors apply to your query, right. So those vendors will quote different prices. So from those prices also you can get an idea what would be the cost of aluminum sheet, right. So that is just an example. You can apply this vendor bid analysis in any other situation as well, right. Then you have got reserve analysis. As I said, initially you don't know much about future, so you keep more and more reserve for unplanned expenditures or contingencies, and that is another good source to know the cost estimation of an activity, right. Then you have got cost of quality. Of course quality is quite an important aspect of a project, and there are different costs related to quality. So these are all about tools and techniques, and there are certain outputs of cost estimation. We will not go into details of these outputs. You just see this activity cost estimates. You have got activity cost estimates supporting details. So these are different details, right. You have got requested changes, you have got cost management plan, right. I will not discuss about these outputs. Let us move on to second important process, right. The first one was cost estimation, the second is cost budgeting. So you have got several inputs for cost budgeting, right. So what is cost budgeting? It is basically the aggregating the estimated cost of individual activities, right. So in fact you will have the total cost baseline for at the end of the day, total cost, and against which you will be measuring performance of the project. So there are several inputs. You have got project scope management, work breakdown structure, WBS directory, activity cost estimates, activity cost estimate supporting details, right. So we will not look at all these inputs, right. We are interested more in tools and techniques, right. So you have got project schedule, resource calendar, contract, cost management plan. So let us look at tools and techniques, right, for cost budgeting. So how to prepare budget? So there is something called cost aggregation, right. So you have got on the cost of different activities, you just aggregate those costs, right. it will give you an idea about budget of the project, right. Reserve analysis, as we have seen in cost estimation also. So, reserve analysis is for contingency and unplanned expenditures. In fact, if the project is far from city, then you need to have more and more contingency and unplanned expenditures, right. Parametric estimation, as I talked in previous case also. So, you have got different statistical and mathematical models available which will help you in finding out budgeting of the project, right. Let us look at cost budgeting outputs, because these two are very important. So, let me talk about these two. So, you have got cost baseline at the end of the day. Cost baseline, it is nothing but a time phased budget that is used as basis against which to measure, monitor and control overall cost performance. So, at the end of the day, you have got a cost baseline against which we will measure how our project is progressing, right. So, cost baseline is important. It's there, it's there in this figure, right. So, this is nothing but cost baseline, right. So, how we prepare it? It is developed by summing estimated cost by period and is usually displayed in the form of an S curve. So, if you look at this curve carefully, it looks like an S curve, right, isn't it? S shape, right. I will show you it on board. It looks like this, right, an S shape, right. So, it is developed by summing estimated cost by period and is usually displayed in the form of an S curve, right. So, this is your cost baseline, right. Then second output is project funding requirements. Actually, funding requirements would be there in different phases or in different steps, right. So, funding requirements total and periodic, in fact funding requirement may be either annually or twice in a year or 4 times in a year or monthly, right. So, it would be different, it would have different periods, right. So, these are derived from the cost baseline and can be established to exceed usually by a margin to allow for either early progress or cost overruns. So, if you look at these dotted lines, just look at this one, right, this dotted line, right. So, this is a step function. So, you are getting funding requirements in different steps, right. So, if let us say this is the total cost of the project, right, this point, the corner point of cost baseline, and if the funding available is this much, right, this much, right, it means there is surplus with you, right, and this surplus is known as management reserve, right. So, you have got more funds than total cost, right. If you are somewhere here, it means you have got less funds, right. So, this is these two are important points. You just look at carefully cost baseline and project funding requirements, right. Cost management plan, of course, cost management plan means if approved change request results from cost budgeting process, then cost management plan component of the project management plan is updated. Anyway, you just look at that, there is something called cost management plan. And the fourth is requested changes. Only there are two important points in cost budgeting output: cost baseline and funding requirements, right. In fact, if you look at the next one, the third important process is cost control. In cost control, if you look at this is very important, because in most of the projects you will get at the end of the day you will have shortage of funds, right. So, you should start controlling cost right from the beginning, right. So when I say cost control means you need to look at those factors which affect your cost baseline, right? Control them carefully. Look at what are the reasons for cost overruns, and whenever there is some cost overrun, you should ensure that is proper approval has been taken for that cost overrun. Let us say if for an activity 100 rupees is sanctioned, right, and you have spent 150. So you should ensure that you have taken permission for spending extra 50 rupees, right. So proper approval should be there. Monitoring cost performance, of course you need to monitor it to detect and understand variances from the cost baseline. So you know that cost baseline is nothing but you know that at this particular point of time this should be the cost of the project, right, and if there is any deviation then you should find out why that deviation has occurred, what are the reasons for those that particular deviation, right. Preventing incorrect, inappropriate or unapproved changes from being included in reported cost or resource usage. Informing appropriate stakeholders of approved changes, right. So these are couple of things you should be you should be careful about cost control. Say there are several inputs, cost baseline is one of the inputs, then you got project funding requirements and there are so many, right. So we will not look at these inputs, we will focus on cost controls, tools and techniques, right. So first is cost change control system. Cost change control system is documented in cost management plan. It defines the procedure by which cost baseline can be changed, because cost baseline would be drawn very early in the project. So if you want to change your cost baseline, then you need to follow a particular procedure. Some documents are to be signed, some approvals are needed, there are some formats. So you need to look at all those things if you want to change your cost baseline, right. So cost change control system is basically a process by which you can change your cost baseline. Then you got performance measurement analysis. This is very important. When you go for a project, you need to check whether your performance is as per planning or not. As per planning, not only in terms of time but in terms of cost as well as in terms of performance also, right. So performance measurement techniques help to assess the magnitude of any variance that will invariably occur. So one of the techniques is earned value management or EVT, earned value technique, right. So earned value technique is basically compares the value of budgeted cost of work performed at the original allocated budget amount to both budgeted cost of work scheduled and the actual cost of work performed, right. So this is earned value technique. We will take up an example on earned value management. In fact, earlier it used to be known as EVT, but now it is called earned value management approach, right. So an important part of cost control is to determine, of course, cause of variance and its magnitude. It is not only the variance but how good or how bad that variance is, right. If you are completing project before time, then it is good variance, right, in a way. So you need to know the variance as well as magnitude of the you need to know the direction and magnitude of the variance, right. So there are a couple of important points which should be noted in this earned value management technique. We will discuss about those points in next session. For the time being, let me stop here. Thank you very much.